Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Jonny Lipsham.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham. I have remembered this year, that the clocks in the United States changed. So it is 11 p.m. here in Edinburgh, Scotland. So for you guys, it's 6 p.m. Central if you're in that time zone. So yeah, I remembered this time and didn't start an hour late. So I'm giving myself a pat on the back for once. I hope everyone has had a good week. I've had a busy one. But yeah, all is good. All is good at this end. We are looking at buying a house. So we've been viewing a good number of different houses, kind of around the outside of Edinburgh, because actually living in Edinburgh it's okay, but housing is very expensive here. So so we're looking at kind of moving a little bit outside of, we're in kind of the outskirts of the city as it is. So we're looking at moving just a wee bit further out. There's some nice new houses that are being built that we're looking at maybe putting in a deposit for. So hopefully that would be good. But it does mean that we're going to be probably some point over the next few months, we'll be packing down this place and we'll be moving to a new home. And that means that hopefully, if we successfully buy, I should say, a new home, it means that I'll have a permanent studio, and I'll be able to do a lot more with the space and a lot more with the room. In terms of acoustic treatment and that kind of thing that I've not really been able to do. I mean, I do have this room treated, but it's kind of quite improvised. There's some very, very cheap acoustic treatment panels up on the walls. And, you know, there is debate as to whether they do very much. I know that they tame some of the upper frequencies and the upper mids and the highs in this room, which are actually surprisingly very present in this room. But they don't really do much for the low mids or the lows in here. So I will be, when we move, once we're all in, I will be setting up my studio, and then the next thing I'll be doing is investing in some much higher quality acoustic treatment. I know that some of you will be saying, hey, why don't you actually just go and buy, get somebody to build your panels or build them yourself. Well, I would if I had any kind of DIY skills, but I have none whatsoever. I'm the kind of guy that puts up a shelf and 15 seconds later the shelf is on the floor. Or I drill a hole directly into electrical cabling or directly into water pipes. That's the kind of DIY person I am. So building panels is out of the question, even though it's probably cheap to do that. So no, I won't be doing that. I will either be hiring somebody to build exactly what I need for the new room, or I will be just purchasing some higher end acoustic treatment panels, which will be nice, thick, broadband absorbers and some diffusing panels as well. So it's kind of we're heading towards the end of an era in this room. We've been here now for almost 3 years. So the contract that we have, the rental contract we have on this house, is for around about 3 years. So our landlords are probably, given the state of the economy and everything else at the moment, they're probably not that keen for us to move. They probably would extend if we needed to. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But yeah, it's about time we actually had a home to call our own, that we can do with as we please and do what we want with it and have it looking how we want it to look rather than kind of having to make do with what's there. So yeah, that's kind of the big news really for me and for the studio. So I'm hoping again that we have at least a space this size. Bigger would be nicer because let's face it, larger space is always nice because it means if I have a larger space, then there's more room for the sound to move around, which is going to be good, ultimately, I think. So, yeah, it is 7 p.m. EST. Yep, interesting. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. Central. So my shows always start at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern. They always start at 6 p.m. Central, regardless of what happens to your clocks. So whether your clocks go forward or whether your clocks go back, my show will always start at 6 p.m. Central Time. Whether I'm doing a solo show for Songwriting Simplified or whether I'm doing this show. It will always start at 6 p.m. Central Time, every time. Unless there is a specific reason why I need to move it. But for the most part, it will always be 6 p.m. Central. So there we go. We have a small crowd here, probably because the clocks have changed. I would imagine that there is a reasonable sized a reasonable proportion of our regular crowd who are probably anticipating that I will do what I did last year. That was somebody at the door. Which is forget and start the show an hour later. But I didn't this week. So there you go. Let's see. So if you guys have got Studio One questions, songwriting questions, arranging questions, composing questions, that kind of stuff, get them in the chat. Let's get this show on the road because it is now 1:15. I am happy to extend the show if necessarily to, maybe a little bit past the hour mark. But it kind of depends upon you and the questions that you guys have for me. Let's see. Let's start at the top and see who came in first. Gerard down in Australia at Starlight G Recordings. Was first in, followed by Ken Moss, and Else Media is here. Bob Studios, Tony Stringert, and two of my faithful mods are here. That will be my good dear friend Tim, and my other good dear friend Bob is here. Mike Neighbor is not going to be with us tonight. I spoke to him earlier, but I'm sure he'll be fine and he'll be back next week. But yeah. Night and Day Sound Studio is here as well. Diego is here in Argentina. Mika is here as well. Lowens is here. And who else do we have? John A.I. Hawk, I think that is. Says hello. Hello to you. And I think you're new to my show, so you are awesome. Welcome. I hope you enjoy. And, if you have a question about Studio One, composing, arranging, songwriting, mixing, all that kind of fun stuff that we do in our home studios, then drop your question in the chat. And the general rule is with putting questions in the chat is if you start your question by typing at Jonny Lipsham Studios, if you get like the first few letters, it should autofill. And what that does is that highlights my name in red, which means I know that that's a question and I can separate that from just the general chat amongst yourselves. So if you could do that, that would help greatly. That way I can distinguish between chat and questions that you have for me. So Tony Stringer actually has the first question because he actually messaged the question to me rather than putting in the chat. So let me go and grab his question, which is, he says, in presence, there is an option in the inputs that says UCNet remote. How does that work? I can't find any app for my iPad that I could use to play the piano in Presence. Yeah, you kind of can't. Can't. Whichever pronunciation of that word you prefer. However, that UCNet thing means that your iPad is on the same network as the computer that you are using for Studio One, which means if you download and install the Studio One remote, you can remotely control Studio One from your iPad. I do this all the time, and it is great fun. We have our bathroom right next door, just that side of the wall over there. And I like to spook my kids. My kids see me go into the bathroom. I shut the door. I have my iPad tucked up my jumper. And I get my iPad out with the door shut in the bathroom. And I can control Studio One from in the bathroom. And so I do. I wait until one of my kids is walking past, or they walk into the studio and they see that I'm not there, and then I hit play. And Studio One starts up. And I'm not in the studio, and it freaks them out. It's great fun. It's very entertaining. So yeah. Here we go. Here it is. Here's my iPad. Let me just unplug it because it's charging up. Here it is. And I can show you, I need to put in the number. I can show you the Studio One remote. Hang on. If you've never seen this before, I'll try and show it to you. So I need to put up the, hang on, let me just close that down. There we go. So here it is. I don't know how well you can see that, but here's Studio One remote. And it's really, really, really great fun to use. And it's actually great if you are doing vocals, or if you're doing drums in your studio, or you're doing guitar or something like that, where you've pretty much got your hands full, and it's not a great idea to, be going from recording to being back here to hit play or record, and then having to run back to make sure you're ready to play. That kind of messes things up quite a bit. So this is really, really useful. So I mean, I can hit the play button here. And you can hear the tune. But the cool thing is I can show my inserts if I want to. And I don't know how well you can see that, but you can see that there are plugins on the channels there, and you can mess about with those. You can kind of mix from your iPad. So if I really wanted to, I mean, I don't have such a thing, but maybe in my new home we'll have enough room for me to put a couch at the back of the studio, and I could sit on the couch at the back, and I can use this to mix. That would be great fun. I'd quite like to do that. But there's also this macro view, which is very, very cool, which is going to be really, really hard for you guys to see. But there's these macro buttons that you can press, and they're just like the macros that you have in the macro toolbar at the top of the screen. And as was shown on the Studio One 5.2 launch, there is new integration coming for the Studio One remote for the show page and things like that. The version which will be 1.6 is not quite ready yet, but it will be launched very, very soon. And when it is, go update, download, get it. And if you are using the show page extensively for live performances on YouTube, live streaming, whatever it is you're doing, this is going to be great for you, because you'll be able to use, you'll be able to toggle between the different sections of your song when you're performing it, and set up repeats, set up loops, and that kind of thing on the fly whilst you're playing, and just by tapping on this little guy. So that's what UCNet is all about. It's about control and controlling Studio One. and that kind of thing. So let me just put this down on my table here. So there we go. So that's kind of what that's all about. So I hope that that answers that question for you, Tony. And John AI Hawk says, yeah, I usually watch your videos after the fact. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. And it's really cool that you're actually here live rather than, watching after the fact. But yet, if you find something in one of my videos or in one of my live streams that you would really like me to go into in a little bit more detail, then if you're watching it after the fact, then do leave a comment and let me know. And even better, if you've actually got an idea for a show that you would like me to do where I feature a particular topic or something, then again, put it in the comments below. And, I'm directing that at you, John, but also anybody who is watching this after the fact. Certainly, please do, if you've got ideas for shows or you want to feature a particular topic for next week, for example, then do leave your comments below and I will read through all of them and I will collate a little list of what we can do week by week by week as we go forward. And that means we've always got a feature. So it's not just about me talking to you guys all the time and just saying whatever comes into my head and taking your questions from the chat. But it would be nice if we have like a featured section for something that you guys want to know, or a particular aspect of Studio One or songwriting or composing or music theory or something like that you would like me to focus on, in which case I can prepare for that and I can make sure I've got something that is detailed and focused as that would take up like half of the show, and then the second half of the show can be for what we're doing right now, which is your questions. So yeah, please do that, John. That would be cool. Let's see, what else do we have? I'm looking for questions here. Diego says, any news about M1 Max compatibility with Studio One 5? This gets asked all the time in all of the social media platforms for Presonus or for Studio One. And the answer to that question is go check out the compatibility statement on our knowledge base. If you go there, that statement will be updated with any new news. So if you go to that, bookmark it, and then check back regularly, if the question enters your mind again and go, hey, I wonder what's happening with Studio One support for the Mac M1s, then certainly by all means go and check and see if there is an update. If there is no update, then it's not ready yet, pretty much. So that would be my my advice. But with that said, one of the things that was talked about at launch for Studio One 5.2 was the support for the M1s in Rosetta 2 mode. So if you are able to do that, then Studio One 5.2 will work in Rosetta mode without any problem. There should be very, very few problems. Certainly with any of the native plugins and the instruments and all of that, you should be absolutely fine in Rosetta mode. The question will then be support for your third-party plugins. And that really is for the third-party plugin manufacturers to address. So, for example, if you are on a Mac M1 and you are in Rosetta 2 mode, but you're finding that certain third-party plugins are not displaying correctly in Studio One, the first thing I would suggest you do is reach out to that company and say, hey, is this particular product of yours fully supported in Rosetta mode in Studio One on the Mac M1s yet? And see what they have to say. They may well give you an ETA if it's not supported, or if it is supported, then you can certainly report that there is an issue there with that particular plugin. But yeah, the answer is go and check that compatibility statement and see if it's been updated following the launch of Studio One 5.2 last week. If there's nothing new there, then there's nothing more to say really on that particular subject. But yeah, go and check that regularly, Diego, is what I would say. Let's see. What else do we have? No musicians are in Central Time. Certainly no musicians clap on beats 1 and 3 in 4/4 time. If they do, they need to go and get another career. I'm kidding. Let's see. Tony says it'd be nice to use the iPad as a piano too. Yep, it might well be. I don't think you can do that right now though. It's literally just a controller for Studio One. That's all it is. However, if you want piano on an iPad and you want a PreSonus product, you can certainly go and get Notion for iOS from the Apple Store. It's only about $15, I think. It does mean that you will need to have some degree of music literacy. So I'm talking about reading music notation, but you can certainly use the piano keyboard and the note values in terms of duration, and you can just tap away and do it that way. And then you could send that to Studio One. That's not hard to do. But yeah, it does involve having a little bit of understanding of music notation, but at the moment, that's kind of where it is. And I can't really speak to any future updates, obviously. Is the remote application available in Android? Yes, it is. I have it on this device as well. So it is, but again, the new version is not supported yet. I can show you this on this device as well. If you just bear with me just a second. Let's see. Studio One. There we go. Studio One on my smartphone. It's a bit tiny, it's a little bit small, but it can be done. Again, I can press the play button. And I can control faders, I can do all sorts of stuff. So that works, but again, it's a little bit tiny. If you've got an Android Galaxy, one of those Galaxy tabs, for example, the bigger ones, they'll be much easier to control. I think you can get it on Windows as well. So if you have a Windows, one of those Windows tablet things, then you can use the remote on there as well. But good question, Diego. Let's see, what else do we have? Louis Deturi from Outs Media has been a great help to me on Studio One. The latest version, I use my Atom as a remote control when I record my keyboards. Yes, the Atom is really, really good. I have the Atom SQ. I don't have the Square Atom. Unfortunately, I missed out on the beta for one of those, but I do have the Atom SQ, which is awesome. Love it. And I have that as well as this ancient keyboard control here, which actually isn't switched on. Hang on. There we go. That takes a minute to power up because it's ancient. This guy's like 27 years old, and it still works. It's amazing. It's the Yamaha QS300 for those of you that are interested. It debuted in 1994, I think, and I got one of the first ones that came into the UK. Because back then in 1994, I had at least something of a relationship with Yamaha, and they were kind enough to send me this guy. So it's really cool. And it survived being run over by a truck on the way to a gig, and it still works. So this thing is built like a tank. It's great. It has one or two quirks in it as a result of it being run over, but it works beautifully. All the keyboard works really, really nicely. The disk drive doesn't work as a result of the being run over part. You guys can't hear this, but it is actually making like a whining sound, like a because the spindle is still spinning, but it won't read anything. So yeah, it's a little bit destroyed. But yeah, it works. But yes, Louis is awesome, and Alps Media is awesome. We love them very much. Let's see, what else do we have? Just Bob says, still want the SQ. The SQ is awesome, and it's really excuse me. It is really portable as well. Before lockdown and all of that, if I wanted to go and do work when I was at my parents' place staying for the weekend, I would take my laptop, Studio One on my laptop, and I'd take the SQ and I'd just plug that in, and hey, I can make music. I can play the piano on there. I can do impact drums. I can play bass. I can do the Presonus Symphonic Orchestra on there with no trouble at all. It's really, really cool. So yeah, if you can get a good deal on an Atom SQ from Alps Media, go for it. If Alps Media distributed in the United Kingdom, that would be epic as well. But we're not quite there just yet. I'm sure Louis has his plan to take over the world, but I'm not quite sure he's at that point where he's ready to invade the United Kingdom. But I guess we'll have to see what the future holds for Alps Media. Let's see. Bobby says... okay. Fair enough. So we have... Let's see. We've got 22 people here. Last week, we actually broke a record. Would you believe it? For attendance. It was amazing. We got to 34 last week, which was a new record. The previous record was 31. So we had 3 more than the previous record, which is cool. Let's see. I'm trying to straighten my chair. Love audio production is Paul in South Devon. Wow, South Devon. You know, I spent a large proportion of my childhood in Cornwall, and I even played cricket for Cornwall. And we played against Devon quite a few times, and they were always a good game against Devon, for sure. He says, glad to catch your live stream. Awesome, Paul. I'm very glad to have you here. Welcome. Diego asks, if I have an old cheap laptop, would it be able to handle Studio One 5? The best answer to that is go and check out the tech specs for Studio One on the Presonus website. The thing to do there is go to presonus.com, click on products, and then in the menu that appears at the top there, select Studio One. And then when you're on the Studio One product page, you can then click on the tech specs and see whether your laptop matches those minimum, and I'll tell you, they are minimum specifications. So if your computer matches those minimum specifications, Studio One should, in theory, run on that laptop. How successfully it will run on that laptop kind of depends upon, things like components and that kind of thing. So, for example, you will look at that technical specification page, and it will not tell you anything about how fast your hard drives need to be. So, if you are using standard spinning hard drives on your laptop, they need to be 7,200 RPM spinning drives. 5,400 won't cut it. They are too slow for processing audio. And what you'll find is if you have one of those 5,400 RPMs, you will see CPU spikes, you'll get dropouts, you'll get clicks, pops, the works. You'll get all of those things that we hate, that we don't want. And you'll see that performance meter revving up into the red regularly. You don't want that experience with Studio One. So the best thing I can suggest is take a look at what your computer has, take a look at what the tech specs say, and you essentially, to be in a good position to run Studio One on any computer, you want to exceed if at all possible, exceed those minimum specifications. You want to have a system that is better than the bare minimum. And the reason why you want that is because of cost. Because you might have to make a little investment, but if you invest in a system that really, really cooks, it's not going to be a problem for a good long time. You're not going to run into memory problems. You're not going to run into hard drive problems. You're not going to run into CPU problems because your system will far exceed it. My computer here far exceeds those minimum specifications. So therefore, I have never had any trouble with Studio One at all. I've not had a single crash. I've not had any performance meter problems. I can run up to 120 channels of audio on here. I can have about 25 virtual instruments instances running, and then the computer starts to sweat. It starts to get a little bit bogged down, but I can go up to that point quite comfortably on that machine, which is great because I've done my when I first got this machine, I did my benchmark testing to see what it would handle with Studio One, knowing that whatever it got to, I'm probably likely, where it bogs down, I'm probably likely to never get to that point with this machine. I'm hardly ever going to be mixing a song that has 120, 130 channels of audio and 25 virtual instantiations. It's rarely going to happen, maybe once in a while. And the thing is, I have a solution for that problem. If I'm starting to get bogged down with virtual instruments, I print them. Pretty much, I record what I need to record, and as soon as I'm happy with it, I print it. That's kind of an old school term, but what I really mean is, I would transform it to rendered audio. I don't even just transform to an audio track. I transform it to rendered audio because I am committing to what I've created. If I don't like it, I should have decided that I don't like it a long time ago. That's how I work. So yeah, that would be the answer to that question. Just Bob says, please hit the like button, folks. It helps Johnny standing in YouTube. It most certainly does. Please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber to the channel, hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. And when you do, select all notifications. That way you'll get notifications about my live streams and about any videos that I upload as well, like the Studio One 5.2 overview video that I put out last week, which is already got nearly 5,000 views. So if you haven't seen that, go and make sure that you've got notifications for all notifications. That way, anytime I put out a video on a Studio One feature or I put out any other content, you're going to get a notification on it. So yes, please do that. Let's see, what else do we have? Bobby asks, when are you moving? We don't know yet. Our contract runs out in July, and I'm pretty sure our landlords would let us stay on for as long as we need to. But yeah, we are looking to buy a home to call our own, which we'll live in for probably the foreseeable future until one of us is unable to breathe anymore. So that's what we're looking for. Outs Media says, do you use your SL32 in DAW mode? Yes, I do. In fact, it is in DAW mode right now. I have the, which one is this? Let me just double check. This is the 32SC. So it's the 32 channel mixer in the chassis of the old, the blue Series 316. So it's in that chassis. It has, let's see, it has 16 channels of faders plus the master fader. But it is a 32 in, 32 out I/O system, extendable, obviously. So, yeah, I do use it in DAW mode. I do not pass audio through this mixer at all. I got this mixer and its predecessor, which is in the box behind me. in the box behind me, which is the original classic blue Studio Live 16. I got both of these for testing DAW mode. So that guy is going to go back to PreSonus, PreSonus Europe. So it's going to go across to Ireland, but unfortunately with lockdown and things like that, I haven't been able to send it back. So as soon as everything opens up in Ireland again and everything opens up here, I can send this guy. It's been sat there waiting to go. But yes, and I have the newer Series 3 mixer sat here now, and it works really, really well. Mike popped in. Yay! He says, since I hate daylight saving time, I have to go to bed since 4:45 comes really early. Good night, Mike. Take care. And get all the sleep you need, my friend. Let's see. Tim says, congrats on the new record. I had a similarly attended live stream a few nights ago. Awesome. Congratulations to you too, my friend. Just Bob says, 5.2 show idea. How to use loop function in project page and create a mixdown with loops added in. Ah, that's interesting. That is interesting. I like that. I will have to do a little bit of testing and a bit of research to see what I can do with that, and then I'll schedule a show. That's a great idea. I like that very much. Just Paul says, great 5.2 intro. Thank you very much. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it was fun to do. I shot that early in the morning of launch day. I had planned to shoot it a lot earlier than that, but kind of there were things that came up that just kind of constantly kept on taking my time away from when I wanted to shoot the video. So I ended up, as I say, shooting it at super duper early in the morning, and trying then to kind of grab little points throughout the day where I could do the next bit. So I ended up spreading it over about 4 hours. Because my video shooting time was constantly being interrupted for various good reasons. So I ended up shooting it in chunks, and then editing it together in post. And it worked pretty well. But I mean, if you're really that interested, watch the time in the corner of my screen, the bottom, what would it be? The bottom right corner of my screen. And you'll see the different times for the different sections of the video. So there you go. That's the backstory to making that video. Let's see. Love's Audio Production says, I'm doing the opposite, selling up and going to rent in Plymouth in the next 8 weeks. Wow. You're selling and renting. Wow, that's amazing. All the very best to you, renting in Plymouth. I played actually quite a lot of cricket in Plymouth. Even though I was based in Cornwall during that particular period of my life, I did actually play quite a lot of cricket in Plymouth, because we'd come and play county games against Devon. But there also, when we got into like cup tournaments and that kind of thing, we would play against Plymouth, or we'd play against surrounding clubs outside of Plymouth. So yeah, I have spent quite a bit of time in Plymouth, and I very nearly went to the University of Plymouth as well. Else Media says, I too have the 32SC, so what interface do you use? I'm using the Studio 1824C, which is what you can hear all of the audio for this show. So you're hearing the mic go through that, and you're also hearing Studio One go through that all at the same time. Sounds good. So yeah, I'm doing that, and I don't pass any audio through the mixer at all. The mixer is just a DAW controller, because that's what I was asked to test. Let's see. Gerard over at Starlight G Recording says, I run Studio One on my shuttle computer, and it's version 4, and my main rack mount supercomputer, I run the latest Studio One on it. Yeah, you might find that there are some computers that just won't run Studio One 5. Particularly if they are, well, I mean, obviously if it's a Windows 8 or a Windows 7 machine, it's not going to run Studio One Fine. It just isn't. John Lake says, what do you use to edit video? I use Camtasia. Camtasia, in my early days of making videos, I used Camtasia to actually record my videos. And it's good for doing that. However, there is one big drawback with recording videos in Camtasia, and that's this. It only records inputs 1 and 2 of your interface, which is no good if you want to screen capture and record your Studio One audio. It just won't do it. So, and this is the case on Windows, okay? On a Mac, you can create an aggregate device and you're fine. In Camtasia, you have to either have an interface like the 1824C that supports loopback, or you have to run the outputs from one interface that you run everything through, so like Studio One and your mic and everything else. You run the outputs from that into a second interface. And then you set Camtasia to receive the input from that second interface. And that way you have all of your audio being effectively summed to that second interface. Camtasia receives everything. So it receives your mic, it receives Studio One audio, no problem. And I did it that way for years. And then I got this new machine, which is Windows 10, and my old second interface was not supported on Windows 10. It just didn't work. So I had to come up with another way of doing it. Now, obviously, the mixer can be used as a second interface because it is an interface. So I could have done it that way, just run the outputs from the 1824 into the inputs of inputs 1 and 2 on the mixer. I could certainly have done that, and I did try that actually, but it just didn't work. It was replete with problems. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go simple. And so I used the 1824 in loopback mode, but I don't use Camtasia to record the videos anymore. I use OBS. Because OBS is really quick, really simple, dead easy to use for streaming, but it's also really, really effective for actually recording the video. So I do the video recording in OBS. That creates an instantly recorded MP4. And then I bring that into Camtasia and I put my bumpers on at either end of the video and I do any editing that I need to do. And it's great. It works perfectly. It does exactly what I need. There are other software out there that, like Final Cut Pro, is the one that springs to mind. But there are a whole bunch of other video editing software like Sony Vegas and things like that that will do just as good a job as Camtasia does. But here's the thing, if I were to record a video using Camtasia, and I've done this actually, using the 1824 in loopback mode, what I end up having to do in Studio One is create a track for my mic. Because for some reason, yes, it records the Studio One audio perfectly, it doesn't capture the mic. I don't know why it doesn't, but it's an issue with Camtasia. I have reported it to TechSmith, and they said, yes, we're aware of this issue. No, we won't be fixing it. So I was just like, okay, fine. I won't be using your product to record my videos anymore. And so that's kind of where it is with Camtasia. So I'm just using OBS now. And I just set up my scene for recording the screen, which I'll show you just now, which you see every week anyway. But I just record this screen here, and the audio is captured perfectly. And the cool thing about OBS is that it will record multiple channels of audio. So I can have Studio One, I can have this mic, I can have Skype input into OBS as well. So, for example, if I decided to have one of you guys as a guest via Skype into this show, and I was able to run Studio One, and I'd be able to run Skype and this microphone all at the same time. So it works really, really well. And when you record in OBS, it just makes an MP4 file, and it's great. And you can just either chuck it up raw onto YouTube, or you can edit it in Camtasia or another software dead easily. So there you go. I hope that works for you. That was a very long answer. Sorry about that. Just Paul says, my wife and I are friends with a couple in Plymouth. Awesome. Who are from Chicago. Cool. My sister lives in Chicago. Alps Media says many people from Cornwall were miners in the California gold rush. Absolutely they were. Yeah. Yeah, they most certainly were. The mining industry in Cornwall was, in a lot of ways, pioneering. A lot of pioneering mining techniques and technology was developed in Cornwall. In fact, pumping engines for mines were pretty much developed by Cornish engineers. So, I mean, there were between the 1500s all the way through until about 1994, 1995, there was a good solid tin and copper mining industry in Cornwall. At one time, at the height of the industry in Cornwall, there were like 350 tin and copper mines throughout the entire county. But there are no mines anymore. They are all closed. 1995, South Crofty Mine was the final mine to close in Cornwall, unfortunately. But pretty much all the miners, instead of going and doing something else, they went to places like South Africa, California, or Canada, or Australia. Wherever there was mining to be done, they went there to do it. Particularly South Africa, because South Africa has I don't know whether it's still true, but it certainly did in the 1990s have an expansive and very large tin and copper mining industry. So, yeah, a lot of folks went there. Let's see. The thing that cannot be mentioned. Oh, you mean COVID? Yeah. I intend to travel to the USA as soon as we are able, says Paul. Yes. I hope to make another trip to the United States, especially now that I actually work for Presonus and they are based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm hoping that I will be able to go and visit head office at some time. That would be particularly cool. I'd love to do that. But yeah, I have to wait until everything opens up. I have family spread right across the United States, so I have lots of people to go and visit when I do get the chance to go. So yeah, I would love to go back. It's been a long time. Been a very long time since I was last over in the United States. So I'd like to go. I think it was like 2006. I think that was the last time I was over there. Let's see. Paul says Wondershare Filmora 9 is a good video audience. Yes, I've heard of that. And Robert Siegler says Sony doesn't own Vegas anymore. Reviews of the new version from Magic are not good, if you believe reviews. I did like Vegas on Windows 7. Yeah, Vegas was really good. It's a shame that they sold it, and it's a shame that product development on that, from what I have heard as well, has not developed in a good direction, unfortunately. Puntastic, Paul. Puntastic. That's all I'll say. Let's see. Diego says if Presonus relaunches audio boxes, loopback would be great. Also, JFET. Well, yeah, it would. It would be good. Say no more. That's all I'm saying. Just Bob. Your sister lives in the next town over from me. Small world. Yes, she lives in the Grays Lake area, around there. I don't know if she's moved recently. But yes, that's where she lives with her husband and her 2 boys and her many cats. And I think she has a couple of dogs as well. So they have lots of pets. It's like a menagerie. But yeah, I like Chicago. Chicago is a cool city because for as much as it is very much America, there are certain parts of Chicago that remind me very much of back here in the UK. And I know that there is a thriving Scottish community over in Chicago as well. Because I have met some of them, and some of them have been living there for like 30, 40 years, and they're from Glasgow, they're from Edinburgh, they're from Aberdeen, they're from Dundee, and it's just like really nice to go and sit in a Scottish pub run by Scots, populated by Scots, and it's just like, wow, there is this tiny little corner of Scotland in Chicago. It was really nice. Really enjoyed it. Oh, really? I did not know that, Paul, that Magic's Vegas have launched a live streaming platform. Cool. Well, you know what? The 2 best live streaming platforms that are available at the moment is OBS and Streamlabs. Streamlabs is kind of like a breakaway from the original OBS team. And they basically took what was already in OBS and they have expanded it greatly. There's a lot you can do with Streamlabs that you can't do with the original OBS. It is in many ways a far superior product. But with the extra features with Streamlabs comes a steeper learning curve, to be honest. And, you know, there's kind of like a lot more interaction that you have to do within OBS itself, because I have it over on this screen, which is why I'm pointing at it. Within OBS, Streamlabs OBS, there's a lot more you have to do interacting over here to make your show look really, really good. I mean, you can do lots of like overlays of text and all sorts of things. I mean, you can do some of that in OBS as it is now, but it's way more expansive. And it just means that, you know, I would be constantly looking over here and kind of clicking this, clicking that, triggering that, triggering that, triggering that. I mean, you can do some of it with hotkeys, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to do that, really. I'm just happy with my small selection of scenes that I can just transition to really easy. I can talk to you on camera, and I can switch over to Studio One. I can come back, I can do my intro pretty easily, and I can do my end screen pretty easily as well. You know, it's all pretty easy. And there's my screen again, and then here's us back here. But I can also, I've got this set up so that if I want to, I can take away that entire background and the logos and everything else and just have this much bigger picture. And I use this when I'm doing like a piece to camera, or it's just a video where I'm not actually showing anything in Studio One. I'm actually just talking to the camera. This is what I used for that. If you watch my Studio One 5.2 overview, the intro to that video was done just using just this screen rather than this one. So yeah, there we go. Yes, chess records is where they are is a dangerous place to be. Yes, absolutely. I don't think I would want to go there. All right, so if we got any other questions, folks, because we are running out of time and we have 21, 22 people in here right now. We kind of peaked around about 23, which is pretty good. Not bad considering we've just had the time change and everything else. So I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, if you guys got any further questions, get them in the chat now. because we are into the final few minutes of the show. And like I said at the start, I will happily extend the show a little bit longer if you guys are up for it and you've got some other questions. Or you've got something that you want me to demonstrate. And I'm drumming on my mixer, as you can probably hear. So yeah, get your questions in and I will happily take them. Excuse me. But yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, then we'll call it a night right here. So it's kind of up to you and how fast you can type. I'm giving you a drum roll. And we'll see. See how well you do. Well, yeah, I clipped the mic. Sorry about that. I think we're probably done, aren't we? Because you guys are not really typing anything, as far as I can tell. But yeah, I hope you guys, if you have updated to Studio One 5.2, I hope you are enjoying the update. It's really, 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 really fun. And I think my personal favorite features are kind of the ones that you guys have talked about already, which is the ability to jump from one section of the arranger track to another, and also to be able to live loop it as well. That is very, very cool. Particularly if I'm, I mean, for me, it's probably not something I will actually use because, we've talked about this before, because, the song is already fully written in my head. The arrangement is already fully done. And by and large, my workflow for songwriting is, it's just simply a case of transcribing what's in my head into Studio One and getting that to come out of the speakers. So, songwriting for me is a little bit more like a transcription exercise than it is anything else, because the song is already done up here. I know exactly how it should sound. And it's just a case of, it's like data entry for me. It's kind of getting it all in there. I already know kind of what the arranger track should look like, what, where verse 1 is, what, where the chorus is, where the bridge is going to be, where the guitar solo is, or if there is going to be a guitar solo, or whether it's going to be a trumpet solo or a sax solo. All that stuff is already in my head. It's just a case of just getting it into Studio One and getting it to come out the speakers. So the whole live looping thing probably isn't going to is not really going to be useful to me personally. However, I am very aware that for a lot of you folks, a lot of songwriters are going to find that invaluable in kind of working out how they want their song to be structured and helping them actually settle on a good arrangement for their song. Because as we all know, a good arrangement is essential to a good song. Good performances, well-written lyrics, good performances of those well-written lyrics, of those, well put together chord changes and accompaniment ideas and all of that. All of those things being well worked out in advance are, they are essential. So the arranger track and the new stuff that goes with that arranger track, to me, means that people are going to be able to get to a good arrangement a lot faster than they have ever been able to do with Studio One before. So I think that's really cool. Let's see. Alps Media says, thank you, Johnny. As always, a great stream. Glad you enjoyed it. Just Bob enjoyed the show. Always fun and a very quick hour. Yeah, it does go by real quick. Does Abbey Road give tours? I don't know. They certainly used to when I was there. And it kind of sounded like I worked there all the time. I didn't. I was never an employee at Abbey Road. But I was employed by people who were recording their records there. So I worked as a session musician, and so I played on a number of recordings that took place at Abbey Road. Around about like 2010, 2011. That was the last time I was down there. 2011 was probably the last time I was there. Yeah, so probably a good 10 years ago since I've set foot in Abbey Road. But yeah, I worked there as a session player in 2001, 2003, and 2004, because I was involved in film scores. I was performing on some films that were recorded at Abbey Road. And they were doing tours back then, so they may well still be doing it now. I don't know. Let's see. John asks a question. Give me an overview of sound sets and how to use them. Sound sets. All right, let's do that. Let's do that because I can give you a very super quick overview of sound sets. So we'll go to the start page. We'll bring up a new song. And then what we'll do is we'll go to instruments and we'll go over to presence. We'll grab that. We'll bring that in here. Now, sound sets are all of these things that are in here. Okay. So you have, in my case, I have some add-ons. So I have the PreSonus Symphonic Orchestra, the PSO Classic Orchestra. I also have the Contemporary Strings. I also have the Robley Signature Set, which is a bunch of synth leads and things like that. Everything is organized in Presence into folders. So you have basses, you have brass, so you have trumpets, trombones, and French horns, and then you have some electric pianos and Hammond organs, and I think there's a Vox there as well. Then you have some guitars, some other keyboards like accordions. Why would you need one of those? Fender Rhodes, a couple of Fender Rhodes models, and a Wurlitzer electric piano. And then you have this. This is the kind of bespoke Hammond model that we have in Presence now. Combine this with the rotor plugin, and you're onto a bit of a winner with these. Some nice presets here. So yes, so you have all of these in Presence, but if I just select just one, just for the sheer heck of it, let's go for big string sustain. We'll go for that. So I can play that from here. Sounds beautiful, right? But there's another place where you have sound sets in Studio One, and that's over in the browser. You go over to the Files tab, and I'm just going to come out of where it is at the moment. I just have to wait for that hard drive to start up. Come on. You know you want to. Let's go over to Files. There we go. All right, so if you go to the root of the Files tab here, I have access to anything that's on my desktop here and my documents, but I also have this folder here called Sound Sets. Now this is really, really cool. If you have purchased things like the acoustic drum loops package, all of these are here. So the different styles are here, and you can drag these suckers in like this. If I go to Pro Jazz and I go to, let's see, let's go smooth jazz. Let's drop this tempo down. There we go. And let's go and grab verses. These are all stems, by the way. So I could just go ahead and select the first one, grab this last one, and bring all of those in. And let's just zoom that down like that. And then I can just play this. All right, so these are all included with whatever package it is you get. But there's some other ones here. There's the Concert Grand as well. So you got the Concert Grand Listener, Concert Grand Player. You got some presets. Big Fish audio kits and loops. These are pretty cool. Haven't used those in quite a while. And then you've got your Core XT sound sets over here for presence. Then you got the Persona Studio Grand, PSO music loops. These are really cool. Let's just Control Z that. These are quite cool. There's like different sections, so there's like a mix here as well. Let's just drag this in here just for fun. And there's loads of these. And these were all created, by the way, by my good friend and colleague, Lucas Ruziska. He made all of these for Personas, for the Persona Symphonic Orchestra bundle. So if you haven't gone and got that, go get it. It's really, really awesome. And then there's these that I have downloaded from my account. So I've got the sound effects package, Speaker Freaker. If you are a member of Persona Sphere, you get this in your account. So there's some pretty good ones here, and there's some one shots as well. There's all of these cool little presets here as well that you can check out. And then there's the Ultimate Loop Bundle Free Collection, which I've also got. And then I've got the Tom Brecklin drums. These are great. Love these. Tom Brecklin is a friend of mine as well. He's great. But there's all sorts of loops here. So, for example, let's go and get this one here. This could be quite interesting. Yeah, kind of doesn't really work. But I can make that work with a loop. Let's see. Rather than funk, let's see if we've got a blues one that'll do the job. Here we go. Let's go for this one here. Groove 1. And then let's double that. Here we go. Yeah, it kind of doesn't really work because this is like a swing thing, and that's kind of a little bit straight ahead. But let's try this one. But yeah, this is the kind of fun that you can have with this. There we go. That matches a lot better. So let's hit duplicate on that. Just Paul says, all Persona sound sets are license free, correct? You mean royalty free? They can be used in your recordings royalty free. For the most part, yes, that is absolutely the case. Anything that is stock that comes in Studio One is royalty free. If you've purchased anything from the shop, one of the things you need to check is whether that particular sound set or that particular loop bundle is royalty free before you purchase. I would say a good 90% of them are, but again, check before you buy. But anything that is that comes with Studio One, already pre-installed, already preloaded, those things are royalty free. You don't have to worry about those at all. Okay, so I hope that helps. That was fun, I have to say. So much fun. I'm going to actually loop that. All right, folks. I'm going to bid you all a good night. Thank you very much for all the great questions. It was great fun. I very much enjoyed it. And And I'll see you guys all on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, hopefully with Jonny over on his YouTube channel. I will get with him and we'll kind of double check how that's going to work. But yeah, hopefully it will be over on his channel. It'd be nice if it was, actually. So the two of us can do the show together. So yeah, that'll be 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday over on Jonny's channel, unless you get a notification otherwise from me. I will post something in the Home Studio Trainer support group and the songwriting group as well, if there is a change to that plan. But otherwise, Wednesday, Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel, 6 p.m. Central for Songwriting Simplified with me and Jonny Gibe. Until then, folks, I shall bid you all a very good night. Have a great week. Good night.